How do you take something that is not considered to be cool and make it cool? How do you take a tradition of hundreds of years and make it cool? And yes, I'm talking about classical music and violin in particular. Violin, a classical instrument that was designed primarily for classical music, used primarily in classical music, and played mainly by classical musicians. I was given the violin when I was only 5 years old. The plan was that I grow up, practice a lot, grow up some more, practice a lot more, grow up even more and practice way more, and then move to New York City to learn at Juilliard School of Music, of course, classical music, right? But life had different ideas. My real violin story starts on a school bus with a bunch of 8th graders on a field trip. There was a boy that really liked me, but I didn't like him. And so, you know what he did? He bullied me. How did he bully me? He got all of his boys on the bus to come and surround me, and they all made fun of my violin playing. Have you ever been bullied before? Can you relate? Let me tell you, it's painful. In my mind, I can still see their eyes. I can hear their laughter. I was sitting next to my besties. We were holding hands and crying all the way home. I had to switch schools after this incident. But I also made a decision. I would never allow anyone make fun of my violin again. I'm gonna make this instrument the coolest thing ever. I had no idea how to go about it, but I was determined. There are 6 traits you must have when you follow your dream to create something new. 1, knowledge. You gotta know what you're doing. You have to be skillful. 2, talent. Knowledge is not enough. You gotta have talent. You have to have a charisma. In music, we have to transform our emotions into an audience. That takes talent. 3, imagination, the bubble over your head. You have to see it, then create it. You have to visualize it. You gotta be creative, innovative. 4, drive, passion, motivation, the fire that keeps us going. In Hebrew, you gotta do it with a little bit of chutzpah. It means to dare. You gotta do it with your guts, even if it means you have to break a couple of rules, within reason, right? 5, elephant skin. Don't care what people say. You can never please everyone anyway, right? 6, patience. This one is important. Evolution happens over time, and sometimes it takes longer than other times. Now, my dream was to redefine violin, make this instrument the coolest thing ever. So how do you go about it? You follow those 6 traits, and you become the best at it. Now, this is not an easy thing, because it takes years of practicing and mastering your craft. Then you have to come up with a plan how to do it, where to do it, when to do it, how to go about it. Then you gotta hustle. And boy, did I hustle. Most importantly, you have to be prepared to fail over and over and over again. I grew up in Israel playing classical music. I love classical music. Classical music is the foundation for everything. It's my foundation. But I also realized that in order to come up with my own original style, I would have to learn how to improvise music. And so I put together a new plan. I would be moving to New York City to study jazz music. And so when I told my father about my new plan of moving to New York City, he said to me, Miri, you would never have a career unless you're playing classical music. My heart was broken, but I had that drive, and so I kept on going. I moved to New York City. I didn't have any friends. I had no family, no money. I hardly spoke any English. I joined jazz school. I was the only violinist in my jazz department, but I was there for knowledge, so I just kept on going. I played every club in New York City. I jammed with every band, every music style. I got on stage even when I was not invited. Remember, I had that chutzpah. I was crazy back then. I still am. And when I had to work extra hours to pay my rent, my music teachers failed me in music because I couldn't attend all of those classes. And so I lost my scholarship and I had to drop out of school. Have you ever lost a dream before? It sucks. But with my elephant skin and drive and motivation, I kept on going. The music industry, no one cared about this new violin concept of mixing classical with other musical genres. No one wanted to see violinists in the front of the stage. Everyone thought that violinists should be in the back of the stage, behind the singer, almost like a decoration. I sent hundreds of demos. No one cared. I cannot tell you how many times I had to hear the word no. But I didn't put meaning into it, because for me, it was just an opportunity to stop, rethink, and get back at it. Because in my imagination, I was already where I was supposed to be. And so since I'm holding a violin right now, let me just give you a quick example of what it is to take a violin, a classical violin, and mix it with something else. Let me tell you about my first break. I think it's time, right? It was the Apollo Theater in New York City, and then the most popular music show at the time, BET 106 and Park. I got on stage with a DJ. We were flipping hip-hop beats. I was fusing different worlds, classical, hip-hop, Afrobeats, Caribbean. No one has ever seen anything like that before. It made a lot of noise. And a few artists reached out to me. Some of them you might know, like Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys called me. She wanted to meet up and play for me her demo recording. That night, I recorded a couple of songs for Alicia Keys. One of them was the very popular song, Falling. With Alicia Keys, I had my very first commercial recording and producer credit. Jay-Z and Kanye West wanted to feature me on their live shows. Now that was a big deal. First time ever, a violinist is being featured in hip-hop shows. I performed a couple of shows with Jay-Z. One of them was Summer Jam in New York City, the one that he got Michael Jackson on stage. And I became a part of Kanye West's team. I went everywhere with Kanye West. We spent hours in the studio. With Kanye, I became the very first violinist to win a Grammy, not in classical music, but in hip-hop category. A song we did together for another artist, Twista, Overnight Celebrity, became the very first music video to feature a violinist. And although it was an uncredited feature, and which happens when you're ahead of your time, now all the kids, all the students wanted to play the violin. It was just cool like that. They all called me the hip-hop violinist. The hip-hop violinist was the name of my first album with Universal Records. That album was the very first album to introduce, establish, and feature hip-hop violin as a musical genre. It featured a lot of big names like John Legend, Akon, Kanye West, Lil Wayne. And it opened doors not only for violinists, but for all musical instruments. You see, people were looking at musical instruments differently. Do you think I stopped there? That's right, I did not. You see, as much as I love production, and I spent hours in the studio as a female producer, and I love the world of programming, plugins, there is nothing that replaces musicians playing music. And so I kept exploring ways to feature and introduce the violin in other musical genres. And I collaborated with some amazing artists. Some of them you might know, like in Latin music with the band Aventura, in EDM trance music with DJ Armin Van Buuren, and in Afrobeats with Diamond Platnumz from Tanzania. I'm sharing with you today my humble story to encourage you to think the impossible. Dare to be creative. Dare to think outside of the box, the violin box. And before I leave, I want you to remember those 6 traits you must have when you follow your dream to create something new. Because your dream comes with tons of work that only you can put into it in your own unique way. Because only you believe in your dream the way you do. There is only one of you, and that is your power. Thank you so much.